Reagan Pebley on Sunday. Pebley have been with the Sparks for 2 years. The Sparks are 10-11. They're in 9th place in the WNBA standings, one spot away from qualifying for the playoffs. The World Cup Final Four is set. France and Spain meet up Tuesday at AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. England takes on Argentina Wednesday at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. Both matches are at noon Pacific time. Live coverage on Fox Sports. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
All I need is one mic.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. Let's get something straight, shall we? Holding a black elected official accountable is not the same as having a personal beef with them. That distinction matters, and too often it gets blurred, sometimes on purpose, I think. The minute someone raises a real concern about outcomes, about votes, about spending priorities, about broken promises, it gets reframed as an attack, as disrespect, as tearing down our own. We need to stop that, y'all. That framing does a disservice to the very communities these leaders represent. Accountability is not betrayal. Accountability is what elected office requires from everybody, regardless of the seat or who's sitting in it. Let me ask you a quick question. Do you think I have a personal beef with Donald Trump? It ain't personal. It's his anti-black policies. You feel me? So why is it always framed as personal animus when the critique is in black? See, you can miss me with that mess. Black communities have fought too hard and for too long to get representation at the table. That fight doesn't end once someone wins an election and becomes president of the country, or for that matter, the city council. If anything, it raises the stakes. Representation without results is not the goal. Representation that delivers, now that's the goal. So, in the future, when we talk about a policy failure, let's talk about the policy. Let's keep our eyes on the actual record, the votes, the budgets, the promises, the perennially missed deadlines, the outcomes in people's daily lives. Because the moment we start treating accountability as disloyalty, we lose the ability to ask for better from anyone. We must never surrender our agency to be outraged when our leaders underperform. Our communities deserve leaders who welcome scrutiny, not ones who hide behind identity to avoid it. Now, let me put my hard hat on, go back outside, and see if these procrastination Crenshaw construction crews have shown up yet. I'm saving space for grace, but if these trucks don't show up soon, well, you already know. With the KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley, and as always, we welcome your feedback.
Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk.
Welcome to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Moving Mountain Mondays, and on Moving Mountain Mondays, we normally find ourselves in music class. But today, in for Mr. Krim is Dr. Terrence Lester, a storyteller, public scholar, speaker, community activist, and author. He is the founder and executive director of Love Beyond the Wall, a nonprofit organization focused on raising awareness about poverty and homelessness and on community mobilization. Additionally, he serves as the director of public policy and social change and as a professor at Simmons College in Kentucky and HBCU. He received his PhD with a concentration in public policy and social change from Union Institute and University. There are three ideals that drive Terrence. One, anyone can make a difference. And two, we don't live forever. And three, it's worth dedicating one life to ensure no one feels invisible. I'm honored that Terrence Lester is our guest on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Terrence, welcome forward to the show.
Jesse, I'm grateful to be here. How's it going?
Man, I am so glad you're here. Man, I got so much to talk about with you in the next hour, and so I'm going to give you a tremendous amount of latitude. I should share with you that our first break comes at the 11 mark, and of course, we'll be in touch with you on that. But let me ask you this question. The President of the United States refused to sign recently a housing bill. And I think we all recognize that housing for the people of the United States has been wanting. But you and your ministry and Cecilia have taken this one step further. Beyond just the policy of the matter, you personally decided to empathize with men and women who are without homes, the homeless, to see their condition, to experience it, to create, if you will, a kind of incubator and experiment about this crisis that confronts so many people. Dr. Lester, share with us your initial thoughts.
Yeah, my initial thoughts is that when we look at data, we see that homelessness is increasing all across the country, right? And many people are becoming unhoused, not because they've been a part of the chronically unhoused community, but many people are actually becoming unhoused for the very first time, meaning that they've never experienced homelessness before. And when you drill down and you really unpack, why is it that people are actually becoming unhoused? It's a lack of affordability, right? And so when I reflect on a sitting president, not actually signing this document that would give many people who are on the cusp of experiencing homelessness. Some may have already started to experience homelessness. It breaks my heart because I am proximate to this population of people. And like I always say, that a housing status should never dictate the worth or worthiness of an individual.
I know that we're going to dig deeper into this when we come forward in just a minute, but I find it fascinating that the title of your organization that you and Cecilia founded is called Love Beyond Walls. And oftentimes this terminology is presented as a critique of the church and the church's inability to get beyond the physical structure itself and to see the crisis that confronts people. Is that where the emphasis of Beyond Walls came from?
Yeah, years ago when I was thinking about the name and how to phrase it to capture the essence of love being a powerful force, right? I think it was ML King that said that hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that, right? And so when I think about going beyond the walls, it is definitely a critique, but also an example of what it means to be proximate to our neighbors without an address.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580 with Dr. Terrence Lester. We're going to be discussing the hard work beyond the policy of what it means to empathize with our neighbor. More on KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
She's sharp. She's fearless. I don't know what they told you, but if they told you that cutting me off is how I was going to get clicks, stop it now. She's that girl, and she's bringing all of that to your radio this summer. Amanda Seales is here. I am Amanda Seales. Comedian, artist, actress, activist, truth teller. The woman who never bites her tongue is coming to KBLA Talk 1580. I'm coming! And baby, the conversations are about to be unmatched. Every Friday, she's going to be lit noon to 2 p.m. and back again 4 to 6 p.m. starting Friday, July 17th. Only on KBLA Talk 1580. Amanda Seales, keeping it real, keeping it raw, and keeping it rooted. Politics, pop culture, Black excellence, the stuff they don't want us talking about. Amanda's talking about all of it.
You keep interrupting me when I'm talking, and you don't want to hear the point that I'm going to make. And yet you want me to respect your point. And that's not how a debate works.
This is not your average radio show. This is a Seales Summer. Fridays, noon to 2, 4 to 6. Starting Friday, July 17th. Only on KBLA Talk 1580. Don't just listen. Tune in. In a world full of noise, one station keeps it real. KBLA Talk 1580, where the conversation goes deeper, the voices sound like yours, and the issues that matter most to our community take center stage. Progressive, powerful, unapologetically us. Whether you're driving through the city or tuning in from your home or office, join the public square. KBLA Talk 1580, your home for talk that enlightens, encourages, and empowers. Listen live on our free KBLA 1580 app, on our website at KBLA1580.com, or on your radio dial at 1580 AM.
Unapologetically progressive. If you have unfiled taxes or are in debt to the IRS, this is important news. Did you know the IRS has programs specifically designed to help people struggling with tax debt? Powerful tax assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. No one knows these programs better than the experts at Optima Tax Relief, America's most trusted tax resolution firm. A-rated by the Better Business Bureau, their award-winning tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $3 billion of tax debt for their clients. One call to Optima can start the process, helping to put an end to your worries about wage garnishment, asset seizure, and other aggressive IRS actions. Find the best options to solve your tax problems. Call the experts at Optima Tax Relief today for a free consultation.
Call 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
This November, you'll decide who leads California. So shouldn't you hear directly from the people asking for your vote? Join us for California Voices, a political town hall and ballot forum, Saturday, October 3rd, 2026. Meet candidates running for governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, and other major statewide and local offices, including Mayor of Los Angeles, city attorney, and LA County Sheriff. Get clear, nonpartisan breakdowns of the propositions on your November ballot, both sides, no spin. And ask your questions directly, in real conversation, face to face. California Voices is brought to you by KBLA Talk 1580 and the Empowerment Congress, giving you the information you need before you vote. Mark your calendar. Saturday, October 3rd, 2026. California Voices. Follow KBLA 1580 for details and download the KBLA 1580 app. Your vote, your voice. Be there.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Our very special guest in this hour, Dr. Terrence Lester, who's filling in for Ernest Krim in his classroom. I'm so honored that he is here. Dr. Lester has an amazing resume, and I wanted to begin before we continue our conversation with the problem, because I know that Dr. Lester is going to take us in the direction of solutions before the end of the hour, with the structure of the problem. Housing in America is seen largely as a local responsibility, city-based, county-based, maybe even state-based, if states are enlightened to do that. But there's never really been the idea that the right to decent, safe, and affordable housing is a human right that should be added to the Constitution of the United States. Literally, the control, the direction, the management, the growth, the determination about housing handled by a single legislative body with the resources to do something about it, as opposed to relegating it to the politics of local control, where people end up living, which side of town, what forms of historic discrimination may play a role in that. Blacks on this side, Hispanics on this side, wealthy and comfortable other folk on the other side. Do you think that the structure of how we approach housing is a problem in this nation?
Actually, I do. Well, a number of things. The United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights already names housing alongside food and medical assistance as part of the standard of living for every single person. And that document was, it's decades old, right? But when it comes to our particular country and the United States, we have never actually acknowledged that as a basic human right, and that every single person living with breath in their body should have access to these resources. And this isn't to say that the federal government does not actually choose between helping and staying out of housing, because it already spends an enormous amount of income, right, on housing every year, mostly through the mortgage interest rate reduction, which overwhelmingly actually benefits higher income homeowners who would likely buy homes anyway. So the question is not necessarily whether or not the government should be involved in housing. I think, at mass scale, I think one of the real questions is who the government actually chooses to help, right? When we think about Housing First program and permanent supportive housing paired with wraparound services, particularly for those who are unhoused, which has a strong evidence base showing longer term people actually transitioning out of homelessness. We look at this recent bill that has just passed, and we see a reduction in the actual investment, actually a defunding of that. When we see things come up like, how do we actually sign a bill into public policy that actually gives people who are outside of housing or need access to housing, and we withhold that, that becomes a problem. And then when we look at, all last year, the pausing of SNAP, all of these new layers of requirements to actually access some of the basic human things that people need to flourish. And I think that is very problematic on the outset. Yeah.
The reason I wanted to drive that point home, because, for example, when Donald Trump came to power in Washington, he essentially disappeared the homeless. That does not mean that that he provided them with decent, safe, and affordable housing. He just disappeared them. We don't know where he moved them to. We know that even in the campaign for mayor of Los Angeles, Karen Bass is under fire about the homeless population in Los Angeles, and mayors around our country have historically had to deal with this. But it seems to me that if we allowed this responsibility to remain the responsibility of local mayors, whether it's the mayor of the District of Columbia, the mayor of the city of Chicago, or the mayor of Los Angeles, and that we, the people, don't make up in our minds that the right to decent, safe, and affordable housing deserves, at least in the most conservative thinking, the same right that you perceive you have in the Second Amendment to have a gun. How about the right to a front door, right? How about the right to a tub?
Right.
How about the right to a bed? I'm sorry. Go ahead, Doc.
Yeah, and to your point, so since the case that happened, Grant Pass versus Johnson in 2024, the Supreme Court hearing that is the first case in over 4 decades that actually was heard on the case of homelessness. If you don't know that, look it up. Where the Supreme Court actually ruled that it was constitutional to provide punitive measures for people without a home for sleeping outside, even when they don't have access to shelter beds or anywhere to go. And since then, we have seen a rise in over 350 cities. I think it's around 380 cities right now that have passed laws and ordinances that have criminalized what it means not to have an address. The most recent state, right, the state of Louisiana, there was a bill that just passed, House Bill 211, that became state law, where not only are they criminalizing and placing people in what they are calling government sanctioned encampments, but when you go to those government sanctioned encampments, you're tasked to provide payment for your own mental health treatment. And there's a clause in this bill that says that you will perform unpaid labor, right? And so when we look at things like this, we have to ask ourselves, are punitive measures the best case scenario when it comes to giving people access to flourishing? And we know what the criminal justice system comes with. You can lose your voter rights. You can not qualify for employment. It can take you longer times to cycle off of what they would call just probation, right? It can put you in more of a stigmatized lens that further displaces you, and what I would argue creates an opportunity where you don't experience home. And when I define home, I'm talking about home is more than 4 walls and a roof.
Let me make that pivot then to the question of empathy in your ministry and in your thinking, because the penalizing of people criminally for their condition, including but not limited to a work requirement for your federal benefit. When my dad used to say that when it came to poor people, our federal benefit is called welfare, or maybe it's called a housing subsidy. But for rich people, welfare is called a tax cut. But they don't see it as a federal benefit. They see it as their own, as their right to a tax cut. But we don't see this question of empathy for people whose fortunes have not been as valuable as ours, or have their fortunes in their life, the decisions that they've made, or the economy itself, or the system we live in itself, has relegated them to a caste in our system that does not allow them to flourish. And so my question to you is, you took the ministry then beyond the common assumptions to the question of empathy and decided to live the life yourself, to be able to articulate from that perspective much of what's taking place. Can you make that pivot for us?
Yeah. I normally say this: homelessness is one of the only justice issues where you could be labeled for what you don't have and then punished for trying to survive it. Meaning, if I didn't have a truck, you wouldn't call me truckless. If I didn't have a phone, you wouldn't call me phoneless, right? And so you are not only labeled, right, but then you are punished for for trying to survive. Homelessness is an experience. It's not a person. And one of the things that we have to get past is we have to see the person beyond before the circumstance, that my social location or my lack of housing or housing status does not dictate my inherent worth and value. The second thing is that we need to listen before we assume. Every single person experiencing this plight has their own unique story. And I think what we oftentimes do is generalize people and we place them in buckets. Some people lost a job, which is one of the leading causes or triggers into homelessness. Some people became disabled. Some people lost a loved one. Some people could no longer afford to stay in a location where they were staying because their income did not outpace inflation, right? There's so many different segues. We have children, right now, which is one of the largest populations of people experiencing homelessness. And recent data shows that the elderly population is a growing population. And so there's so many things that we have to consider before we label people, and we need to listen as to why people actually find themselves in this plight. We need to commit ourselves to protecting the dignity of every single person, right? Dignity belongs to all. And I think that is a message that whatever side of the aisle you are on, that we can all resonate with, because who wants to be defined based on the hardest moments in their life? And then I would say the fourth thing is this: we need to build more belonging. And when I'm talking about belonging, I'm talking about access to the whole community, right? I grew up impoverished myself. I experienced homelessness myself. I saw my single mom work hard. And if it was not for relationships and the community actually crowding around her and her goals and her dreams to actually overcome, for her to pass on those dreams to me, I would not be where I am today. And I just want to say that it's some person out there that all they need is community. But if we lead with punitive measures, if we lead with social stigma, then we're not affording them the same opportunity that we would want for ourselves.
Let me make another pivot, because you're preaching right now, and I want to capture our ministerial audience that's listening. What is the common mistake that those who quote scripture on the question of homelessness or the housing crisis that ministers commonly make towards the title of your organization, beyond the walls of the church? It seems that, based on what I've been hearing from most preachers that have preached, and I've heard quite a few of them in my lifetime, compared to what you're saying, compared to what you're advocating for, we're only scratching the surface of the problem, and we're not looking at the micro details that are important to understand the human nature of the human beings that are profoundly affected by what should be a temporary condition. Dr. Lester?
I was speaking to, I was in DC speaking alongside Reverend Dr. Liz Theo Harris, who co-chaired the Poor People's Campaign. And we were discussing, yes, alongside Dr. Reverend William Barber. And we were talking about this, one of the misused texts in the scriptures as it relates to poverty is the poor will always be with you, right? And most people hear that and use that scripture to justify poverty and God's allowance of poverty to persist in the earth. When we actually drill down in that text, Jesus is actually quoting Deuteronomy, where in Deuteronomy chapter 15 and verse 11, it's saying, be open-handed, be open-fisted when it comes to being generous towards those who are impoverished. And we miss the fact that Jesus is actually addressing Judas Iscariot, right? Which was a thief. And in actuality, Jesus is saying that the poor will always be among you, but that does not give us the excuse to close our fists and not be generous towards them, right? And so I think one of the ways in which we combat that is by truly understanding the context of that passage, but also reframing how we talk about those who are impoverished. Because as Dr. Cornel West and Brother Tavis Smiley wrote in The Rich and the Rest of Us, some of of those who work 40 and 50 hours a week work harder than those who have access to actual career jobs. And just because a person is impoverished does not mean that they are not working hard enough.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 15 Hour. In for Ernest Krim, Reverend Dr. Terrence Lester, PhD. He's a minister today, whether he wants to be or not. More on KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Rapper Jay-Z is apologizing after a security breach delayed his Yankee Stadium concert by more than 4 hours.
And they closed all the doors and somebody rushed the door and closed the door for you guys' safety and everybody's safety outside.
The show began shortly after midnight with no injuries or arrests reported. It was the final performance in his hometown series celebrating the 30th anniversary of Reasonable Doubt. The Trump administration plans to keep the National Guard in Washington through January 2029, though President Trump could end the deployment sooner. More than 5,000 troops are currently stationed in the capital. The D.C. Council has asked Michigan and the U.S. Virgin Islands to recall their troops now that America's 250th birthday events have ended. And Michael has topped $1 billion in global ticket sales, becoming the first biopic to reach the milestone. It is Lionsgate's first billion-dollar movie. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Cleaning starts with one small task, and suddenly it's the whole house. Luckily, there's AirTasker. Post your task, set your budget, and choose a tasker to help. From carpet cleaning to finally tackling the junk drawer. Go to airtasker.com or download the app.
AirTasker. Get anything done.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Dodgers are going into the Major League Baseball All-Star break with a 3-game losing streak. They were swept at home over the weekend by Arizona. The Dodgers lost to Arizona Sunday 5-3. The Dodgers still have the best record in baseball at 61-36. The All-Star game is Tuesday in Philadelphia. If you're looking for a job in the sports industry, the LA Sparks have an opening for a general manager. The WNBA franchise fired GM Reagan Pebley on Sunday. Pebley had been with the Sparks for 2 years. The Sparks are 10-11. They're in 9th place in the WNBA standings, one spot away from qualifying for the playoffs. The World Cup Final Four is set. France and Spain meet up Tuesday at AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. England takes on Argentina Wednesday at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. Both matches are at noon Pacific time. Live coverage on Fox Sports. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, aka the Voice of Reason, encouraging you to join me weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. for the world's most intriguing relationship radio roundtable. Every night, I facilitate and encourage our loyal listeners to participate in the most engaging relationship discussions you'll hear anywhere. So make it a point to rendezvous with me, Zoe Williams, the Voice of Reason, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Trust me, your relationships will never be the same. The VOR is on fire tonight.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Please be advised. You may want to stop eating the following foods immediately: broccoli, kale, bean sprouts, blueberries, quinoa, spinach.
Wait, what? I thought those were good for me.
Turns out not for everyone, because what's healthy for one person can cause inflammation for another. And the only way to really know what your body needs is to listen to it.
Listen how?
That's where Viome comes in. Viome is a simple at-home gut health test that looks at your body's real-time biology using RNA to understand what's happening inside you right now. When your results come in, you'll learn exactly which foods to eat, which to avoid, and which supplements are right for you, all based on the world's largest RNA-based human biology database and thousands of clinical research studies. And many people who use Viome report more energy, better digestion, and a better mood within months. So stop guessing. Start knowing. Learn more at viome.com/gut. V as in Victor, IOME.com/GUT. And use coupon code GUTHEALTH50 to save $50 off your purchase. Viome. Trust
Are
your
you
gut.
drowning in IRS tax debt? Angela was. She called Civic Tax Relief and saved over $80,000. Felicia was having health problems, got behind on her taxes, interest and penalties were adding up. She called Civic Tax Relief and saved over $15,000. Civic Tax Relief is a professional tax negotiation firm that can protect you from the IRS. If you're getting collection letters, call Civic Tax Relief for a free consultation. They will go to work helping you discover all the relief programs you may qualify for free. James owed the IRS $37,000. Civic Tax Relief represented him against the IRS, and by the time everything was completed, he did not owe the IRS anything. If you are in trouble with the IRS, call Civic Tax Relief for your free consultation now. 800-200-2257. 800-200-2257. Get a free consultation and real tax relief. Call 800-200-2257. 800-200-2257.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to Moving Mountain Mondays on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, where Ernest Krim is our regular contributor. But today, Dr. Terrence Howard, Dr. Terrence Lester, a storyteller, public scholar, speaker, community activist, and author. He's driven by three ideals. First, anyone can make a difference. Second, we don't live forever. And three, it's worth dedicating one's life to ensuring no one feels invisible. He's known for nationwide campaigns that bring awareness to homelessness, poverty, economic inequality. His awareness campaigns have been featured on MLK 50, CNN, Good Morning America, Essence Magazine, TEDx, TV One, Creative Mornings, USA Today, NBC, the Southern Christian Leadership Conference National Magazine, NBC News, AJC, Black Enterprise, Rolling Out, and Upworthy. In 2013, Terrence formalized the concept of Love Beyond Walls as more than just an idea by incorporating it as a nonprofit and living as a person experiencing homelessness in the heart of the city of Atlanta. He was put out of shelters, slept under bridges, ate handouts, was put out of restaurants, stayed countless days, and experienced every aspect of homelessness firsthand. Dr. Terrence Lester, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Jesse, I'm so grateful to be here. It's been such a rich time talking.
Dr. Lester, before we go any further, how can our listeners support your work? And if you don't mind, I'd like to call it support your calling and your ministry.
Yeah, so one of the things that I started to notice, especially with the recent shifts in funding towards education, we talk about houselessness, and normally we think about adults, but they're actual children, right, who are going to schools, Title I schools, and they're sitting in classrooms, and the only time that they ate was the day before, right? Or they're leaving school and they may be living out of the trunk of a car with their family, or in a shelter or an extended stay motel. And one of the things that we've recently done to mitigate some of the gaps as it relates to education is we started building resource centers inside of Title I schools. They're called Zion's Closets. And a parent can go in there to do anything from wash their clothes to access technology, because there's a digital divide, and fill out job applications generations access refrigeration and produce and healthy foods. It doubles as a space where parents can actually be engaged without the sting of shame, and actually sit down with counselors and social workers to talk through some of the social injustices that they may be facing. And I think this is important because you get a chance to see a community support itself, right? Because we collaborate with local businesses and small businesses and individuals to let them know, hey, this is going on in the community. So what I'll ask is, if you've heard this and you say, hey, how can we partner? You can go to lovebeyondwalls.org. You can click Zion's Closet. We started in one school, and now we're in 5 schools, and we have a list of 20 schools that are actually waiting on us to partner with them. And this is important. I'll say this because educational injustice starts long before a student doesn't get access to higher education. It starts in growing up in a redline community and not really understanding the urban hassles around you, the pollution, the divestment, why books are outdated, why I don't have extra curriculum activities, why I don't have an extra mentor. All of that creates conditions that not only produces trauma, but it also impacts learning outcomes. And it's hard to learn when you're hungry. It's hard to learn when you're sitting in classroom with shame. It's hard to learn or even be engaged in your child's life when you fear of how you'll be looked at. So we're trying to use this system or this resource center as a way of rebuilding trust amongst parents and educators in the community. So you can support there.
Dr. Lester, is there a button that we can press on your website?
Yeah, you can go there and click Zion's Closet. You can read up about it, and there's ways to give. If you're ever in the city of Atlanta, I love people to get involved. Roll up your sleeves. It's more than just monetary donations for me, because we're actually in the community and proximate.
See, Dr. Lester, you can tell he has his PhD, but he hasn't quite gotten his ministry degree because he's forgetting to ask for money. And no preacher.
Okay. Well, give too.
I say no preacher would let you get out of church on Sunday morning without asking for a contribution. Doc, let me ask you a question. We're living at a time where the nation has seen, in fact, the world has seen, its first trillionaire. The president of the United States has prioritized building ballrooms over housing for the ill-housed or the homeless. We've seen the if you will, the use of wealth to show that this caste system is only getting stronger, with incomes and resources going to the top and very little coming to the bottom. Is there a moral message about the direction of our country at this hour that that much of your research and your experimentation has confirmed to be true on the moral questions?
Yeah. I love what Reverend William Barber always says. This is bigger than a left or right conversation. It's a moral one. When I hear the word 1 trillion, right? If you just do the basic math, if the average home just cost $100,000 to build, you could build 10 million homes with $1 trillion. Now, let's do it this way. If the average home costed $250,000 per home, you could build 4 million homes, right? When you look at the data or the census, whatever, because I don't necessarily believe that the census is always correct when it comes to those who are unhoused, because you only count who you visibly see, right? But 4 million homes, they're estimating that it's roughly a little over 729,000 plus people who are without housing. There are another couple of million who need access to affordable housing. When I hear the contrast, it makes me cringe. It makes me cringe. How is it that we can sit and watch a UFC fight that costed $60 million for a couple hours of entertainment, but there are people who can't afford groceries because groceries are higher. There are people who are having to carpool now and sometimes not even know how they're going to get to work based on transportation because gas cost has risen. There are people who can no longer afford to stay in communities to actually call themselves a part of the community. That is problematic, and it is a moral issue. And we have to cry aloud to say this is not right. And you don't have to be scared to name something that is not right, because if it's not right, that means it's not right. And any person that amasses that amount of wealth, someone is always losing. And the question is who is losing? Why are they losing? And what can we do to stop those people who are losing to stop losing?
You can hear in his voice the moral indignation. Dr. Terrence Lester, a storyteller, public scholar, speaker, community activist, and author, has been our guest this last hour. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. When we come forward, I'm going to ask Dr. Lester, what can we do about it right now in our own communities? How can we continue to support his work, but also looking forward to his word of hope? I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. More on KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. These are hard times for housing in America. Too many in our community face barriers to safe housing, behavioral health care, and affirming spaces for healing, particularly those impacted by poverty and stigma or incarceration. Rooted in South LA, Ahmad supports impacted communities through housing, wellness, and leadership development. Ahmad provides culturally responsive, peer-led support from transitional housing and mental health services to leadership development and youth empowerment. They offer safe, affirming houses for youth, transgender women, and formerly incarcerated individuals. Therapy and peer support with a focus on healing trauma in Black communities. HIV prevention and care, free testing, education, and wraparound services for whole person wellness. Standing in the gap with health, housing, and hope. Reach out to Ahmad Institute at 323-569-1610. That's 323-569-1610. Or visit amaad.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Gas prices got you down. LADWP customers get a rebate of up to $4,000 when you buy a used electric or plug-in hybrid vehicle. Installing an EV charger at your home? Get a rebate for that too, up to $1,500. Visit ladwp.com/EV today and start saving. That's ladwp.com/EV. Going to a World Cup match in LA this summer? Ditch the parking stress and ride Metro. With direct service from across LA County, it's the easy way to get there for just $1.75 each way.
Onyx, I keep having stomach issues. Please make me a doctor's appointment.
Okay, are you suffering from diarrhea, bloating, gas, or oily stools? If so, you may want to ask your doctor if it could actually be a problem with your pancreas, called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI.
My pancreas? How is EPI treated?
A prescription medicine like Creon, pancrelipase, is used to treat people who can't digest food normally because their pancreas doesn't make enough enzymes. Creon is the #1 prescribed treatment for EPI.
Creon may increase your chance of fibrosing colonopathy, a rare bowel disorder. Tell your doctor if you have a history of intestinal blockage or scarring or thickening of your bowel wall, if you are allergic to pork, or if you have gout, kidney problems, or worsening of painful swollen joints. Call your doctor if you have any unusual or severe gastrointestinal symptoms or allergic reactions. Take Creon as directed by your doctor and always with food. Do not chew capsules, as this may cause mouth irritation. Other side effects may include blood sugar changes, gas, dizziness, sore throat, and cough. These are not all the side effects of Creon. You can learn more at 1-800-633-9110.
Before your appointment, visit creoninfo.com. That's CREON info.com.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 joins you in standing for voting rights. The midterm election campaign season is here now. The 2028 presidential election is right around the corner. When We All Vote is a leading national nonpartisan initiative on a mission to change the culture around voting and to increase participation in each and every election by helping to close the race and age gap. Created by Michelle Obama, When We All Vote brings together individuals, institutions, brands, and organizations to register new voters across the country and advance civic education for the entire family and voters of every age to build an informed and engaged electorate for today and generations to come. When We All Vote empowers their supporters and volunteers to take action through voting, advocating for their rights, and holding their elected officials accountable. It's all in for 2026 and 2028. Please visit whenweallvote.org to stand up for your rights, voting rights. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Dr. Terrence Lester. At the age of 16, Terrence was a high school dropout and a member of a gang. A rebellious teen, he lived on the streets and even attempted to take his own life. At 20, he was arrested, jailed. He met a man who talked to him about life decisions. It was the first time he had ever heard the good news. By the start of the following year, he was submitting to a call to share his testimony to change the lives of others. This isn't just a person who's talking the talk, but he's walking the walk. Dr. Lester, can you share with us your education journey?
Yeah. Wow. You know, just even listening to that bio, I get chills, and I want to acknowledge a brother by the name of Mr. Ronald Eason. I was given a lecture in Chicago, and this professor reached out to me. It's based on my book called From Dropout to Doctorate, Breaking the Chains of Educational Injustice. And a white professor comes up to me and she says, well, you know, tell me about your educational journey. I asked her, when was the first time you ever heard or dreamed that you could go to college? She said, fifth grade. I says, I was 20 and I was working in the back of a warehouse. Grew up in a historically redline community, faced poverty. But I met people like Mr. Eason, who was a real estate developer. He was a deacon in a church. I got connected to a community of faith. And one day I found the courage to actually stop Mr. Eason. And I said, brother, do you mind if I just tell you my story? Long story short, he invited me over to his house. I told him how I grew up, what I had to overcome, the experience of homelessness, the whole nine. And he says, I believe you have what it takes to go to school. Not only did he invest in me going back to school, he paid for my undergraduate degree. He paid for me and my wife to get married. I'll make 20 years of marriage. He encouraged me that, thank you, one day I would obtain my doctorate degree. And one of the last text messages he sent me before he made his transition to pass away, he says, young man, I just want to let you know I'm proud of the man that you've become and the father that you've become. You're one of the greatest investments I've ever made. Here it is. This guy developed subdivisions and built homes and buildings and all these things as a real estate developer. But he understood that one of the greatest investments that you can ever make is in people and young men. And so I was a product of that. And hearing you read my bio, I cannot think about my journey into education without the many people who told me that it was possible and allowed me to borrow their courage before I had courage in myself.
At my father's obsequies, I spoke of a particular motivating and moving passage in Howard Thurman's autobiography with Head and Heart, where he dedicates his book to the stranger. And I really feel like I just heard the story of the stranger when you met Mr. Dr. Brother Eason in the back of that warehouse, and he invited you over to dinner at his house. Yeah. And he, as I shared at my father's funeral, changed the trajectory of his life, Howard Thurman's life, at that train station when Howard Thurman had given up on the idea of not being able to take his bag with him to college and had given up on the idea of college. And the stranger walked up to him and said, "How much does it cost to get a ticket to put your bag on the train so that you can go to college?" And Howard Thurman writes, he never heard the man's name, never knew what he was, never knew anything about him, but he remembers boarding the train with his bag and watching the man walk in the opposite direction as he was heading to college. He dedicates his life and his work to the stranger that he met in the train station that day. And that's the story that I just heard. I asked another Howard Thurman scholar, Dr. Walter Fluker, on this very program, who was the stranger in Howard Thurman's book. And Dr. Fluker said, to Howard Thurman, the stranger was God. God presented himself at the hour that Howard Thurman needed him in the form of a nameless, a faceless stranger who changed the trajectory of his life. And that's how I indeed saw my own father's life, as that of a stranger for the millions of people who did not know him. But he came into contact with them, he offered them hope, and it changed the trajectory of their lives. Dr. Lester, I want you to know this isn't going to be your last time on our program, but we regularly ask our guests to take the last 3 minutes of our program and share with our listeners across Los Angeles, in Chicago, in New York, in Atlanta, in South Africa, and in London. We get messages from people in London who listen to our show by way of the app. Dr. Lester, will you share with them a word of hope?
Yeah. Just thinking about all of what we have discussed, I am reminded that we are a part of what Dr. King calls the beloved community, where every single person, every single neighbor, right, belongs. That we have what is described access to a world house. And one of the ways in which I remain hopeful is by remembering that I'm a part of this beloved community. I am a part of something greater. And I know that that greater is worth investing in. Many times people ask me, what keeps your flame going? It's because I'm reminded that whatever I do for my neighbor, I'm also doing for myself. That whatever I'm contributing to my community, I'm also contributing back to myself. There is hope found in community. There is strength found in community. One of the ways in which we remain hopeful is by locking arms with those who are willing and able to stand in solidarity with this idea that a better future is accessible. A better future is possible, right? Who are you locking arms with? Who are you dialoguing with? The other thing that I think about is how diet is more than just food. What are you consuming, right? Who are you listening to? What are you watching? Who are you in conversation with? It is urgent right now that we consider what we consume on social media, that we consider what we consume in terms of what we're watching. Not only do we have this obligation to care for those around us, but we have a greater obligation to care for ourselves because we cannot pour from an empty cup. I want to also say this: hope is not passive. Sometimes people think that hope is passive, but hope is not passive. It is very active. And it should be urging us at every single second of the hour that we're able to make a difference. That's why we are calling a hope the possibility of what we can do right now.
Dr. Terrence Lester, you've heard it right here on KBLA Talk 1580, our very special guest filling in for Ernest Krim. I'm so honored that he was here. He's got a number of books that he's written that can also be found on Amazon.com. I want you to Google his name, Google his organization, go to the website and the information that he provided for us, and please, please, please support his work. Love Beyond the Walls. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Dr. Lester, we love you, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Thank you. Love y'all.
Next up, Dr. Teresa Hord Owens on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. More on KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Rapper Jay-Z is apologizing after a security breach delayed his Yankee Stadium concert by more than 4 hours.
And they closed all the doors and somebody rushed the door and closed the door for you guys' safety and everybody's safety outside.
The show began shortly after midnight with no injuries or arrests reported. It was the final performance in his hometown series celebrating the 30th anniversary of Reasonable Doubt. The Trump administration plans to keep the National Guard in Washington through January 2029, though President Trump could end the deployment sooner. More than 5,000 troops are currently stationed in the capital. The D.C. Council has asked Michigan and the U.S. Virgin Islands to recall their troops now that America's 250th birthday events have ended. And Michael has topped $1 billion in global ticket sales, becoming the first biopic to reach the milestone. It is Lionsgate's first billion-dollar movie. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Cleaning starts with one small task, and suddenly it's the whole house. Luckily, there's AirTasker. Post your task, set your budget, and choose a tasker to help. From carpet cleaning to finally tackling the junk drawer. Go to airtasker.com or download the app.
AirTasker. Get anything done?
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Dodgers are going into the Major League Baseball All-Star break with a 3-game losing streak. They were swept at home over the weekend by Arizona. The Dodgers lost to Arizona Sunday 5-3. The Dodgers still have the best record in baseball at 61-36. The All-Star game is Tuesday in Philadelphia. If you're looking for a job in the sports industry, the LA Sparks have an opening for a general manager. The WNBA franchise fired GM Reagan Pebley on Sunday. Pebley had been with the Sparks for 2 years. The Sparks are 10-11. They're in 9th place in the WNBA standings, one spot away from qualifying for the playoffs. The World Cup Final Four is set. France and Spain meet up Tuesday at AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. England takes on Argentina Wednesday at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. Both matches are at noon Pacific time. Live coverage on Fox Sports. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
All I need is one mic.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. Let's get something straight, shall we? Holding a black elected official accountable is not the same as having a personal beef with them. That distinction matters, and too often it gets blurred, sometimes on purpose, I think. The minute someone raises a real concern about outcomes, about votes, about spending priorities, about broken promises, it gets reframed as an attack, as disrespect, as tearing down our own. We need to stop that, y'all. That framing does a disservice to the very communities these leaders represent. Accountability is not betrayal. Accountability is what elected office requires from everybody, regardless of the seat or who's sitting in it. Let me ask you a quick question. Do you think I have a personal beef with Donald Trump? It ain't personal. It's his anti-black policies. You feel me? So why is it always framed as personal animus when the critique is in black? See, you can miss me with that mess. Black communities have fought too hard and for too long to get representation at the table. That fight doesn't end once someone wins an election and becomes president of the country, or for that matter, the city council. If anything, it raises the stakes. Representation without results is not the goal. Representation that delivers, now that's the goal. So, in the future, when we talk about a policy failure, let's talk about the policy. Let's keep our eyes on the actual record. The votes, the budgets, the promises, the perennially missed deadlines, the outcomes in people's daily lives. Because the moment we start treating accountability as disloyalty, we lose the ability to ask for better from anyone. We must never surrender our agency to be outraged when our leaders underperform. Our communities deserve leaders who welcome scrutiny, not ones who hide behind identity to avoid it. Now, let me put my hard hat on, go back outside, and see if these procrastination Crenshaw construction crews have shown up yet. I'm saving space for grace, but if these trucks don't show up soon, well, you already know. With the KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley, and as always, we welcome your feedback.
Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA.
Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on Moving Mountain Mondays. And in the hour, we are with Teresa Hoard Owens. But just before we do, I wanted to opine in the first moment or so on the death of Lindsey Graham. Well, Lindsey, I came to Congress the same way so much of my life in public has unfolded, through struggle, through history, and through timing. I did not choose, but I had to answer. December of 1995, I won a special election to represent Illinois' 2nd Congressional District. Lindsey Graham had arrived a year earlier, part of the class of 1994. Swept in on Newt Gingrich's contract with America, we were, on paper, about as different as two young members of Congress could be. But our stories were tangled together before either of us ever raised our hand to be sworn in. Jim Clyburn had been elected in 1992, the first African-American to represent South Carolina in the House since Reconstruction. Jesse Jackson fared well in 1984 and 1988 races in South Carolina, laying the foundation for reconsideration of the state in its primary processes. That seat existed because of the redistricting that followed the 1990 census, a majority-minority district drawn to finally give a Black South Carolinian and Black South Carolinians a voice that they had been denied for a century. But that same redistricting, by concentrating Black voters into Jim Clyburn's district, made the surrounding districts wider and more Republican. It's one of the hard ironies of that era. The very map that sent Jim Clyburn to Washington also helped send Lindsey Graham there, a year later, from South Carolina's 3rd District. My father, the Reverend Jesse Jackson, understood these currents better than most. He ran for president in 1984 and 88, and out of those campaigns came his insistence on new nominating rules that eventually moved South Carolina, the state where he was born and I was born too, earlier into the Democratic primary calendar, so that Black voters coming out of Iowa and New Hampshire contests would have their way before the field had already been decided. All of it, Clyburn's seat, my father's campaigns, Lindsey's rise, were woven from the same redistricting and from the same reckoning with race that defined South Carolina politics in the decade and many before it. Lindsey was a nice guy. He was affable, fun to talk to. He always had a smile on his face, and he believed genuinely, I think, in the idea that people who disagreed on almost everything could still work together and still like each other. That's a rarer quality in Washington than most people realize, and it was real with him. Did we agree on the Contract America? No. Did we agree on the Tea Party, which rose up in reaction to the election of nation's first African-American president? No. Did we agree on what became of his relationship with Donald Trump and MAGA politics, all of which he became champion and defender of? Hell no. Not that either. But decency doesn't require agreement. And Lindsay showed me this more than once. Most recently, the late Spencer Leak Jr., who for so many years helped our family carry the weight of these moments, coordinated with Lindsay's office and with Governor Henry McMaster's office to bring my father home to lie in repose in the South Carolina State House. Lindsay did everything in his power, everything a South Carolina senator could do, to convince Speaker Mike Johnson to let my father lie in state at the U.S. Capitol in honor befitting a favorite son of South Carolina who had changed the country. Johnson said no, but I've never forgotten that Lindsay tried, and tried hard, on behalf of a man he did not always agree with, for a family he did not have to trouble himself with at all. Sometimes we want to have it both ways. Publicly, we want to be tough. Privately, we have relationships that are necessary to get things done. But the images, the lasting images of my father's memory also include the very hard work of Lindsey Graham, Jim Clyburn, the State Legislative Black Caucus, all of which were necessary to garner the support of the decision maker, Governor McMaster. And I remember colder night than that one when we had been invited by Jeffries at the State of the Union. Security that evening was tight as it ever had been. And members of my family dropped at a checkpoint on the Senate side were turned away and told to walk all the way around to the line on the House side. Even with my former member's identification card, I couldn't get them in. I happened to spot Lindsay. We started talking and he simply walked us, all of us, through the security, down the halls, straight to the leader's office. That's who he was also. He didn't have to do that, he just did. I honor Lindsey Graham not because of his politics. I couldn't stand his politics. I honor him because of his decency. Would I call Lindsay a friend, a decent man, and like all of us, a flawed human being? The answer is yes. I pray we give some thought to the inward journey, that this isn't about Lindsay, he's gone. This is about how we react. My mama told me to never speak ill of the dead, and these political times are very difficult for all of us. I invited Democrats and Republicans to my father's services because we have relationships and friendships and bonds of trust that matter. It's okay to leave our politics at the door, to show gratitude for service and commitment, and to say thank you. And on this occasion, we say thank you to Lindsay. Tomorrow, I am almost certain we will be saying thank you to other people. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward, right here on KBLA.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
She's sharp. She's fearless. I don't know what they told you, but if they told you that cutting me off is how I was going to get clicks, stop it now. She's that girl, and she's bringing all of that to your radio this summer. Amanda Seales is here. I am Amanda Seales. Comedian, artist, actress, activist, truth teller. The woman who never bites her tongue is coming to KBLA Talk 1580. And baby, the conversations are about to be unmatched. Every Friday, she's going to be lit noon to 2 p.m. and back again 4 to 6 p.m. starting Friday, July 17th. Only on KBLA Talk 1580. Amanda Seales, keeping it real, keeping it raw, and keeping it rooted. Politics, pop culture, Black excellence, the stuff they don't want us talking about. Amanda's talking about all of it.
You keep interrupting me when I'm talking, and you don't want to hear the point that I'm going to make. And yet you want me to respect your point. And that's not how a debate works.
This is not your average radio show. This is a Seales Summer. Fridays, noon to 2, 4 to 6. Starting Friday, July 17th. Only on KBLA Talk 1580. Don't just listen. Tune in.
If you have unfiled taxes or are in debt to the IRS, this is important news. Did you know the IRS has programs specifically designed to help people struggling with tax debt? Powerful tax assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. No one knows these programs better than the experts at Optima Tax Relief, America's most trusted tax resolution firm. A-rated by the Better Business Bureau, their award-winning tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $3 billion of tax debt for their clients. One call to Optima can start the process, helping to put an end to your worries about wage garnishment, asset seizure, and other aggressive IRS actions. Find the best options to solve your tax problems. Call the experts at Optima Tax Relief today for a free consultation.
Call 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
This November, you'll decide who leads California. So shouldn't you hear directly from the people asking for your vote? Join us for California Voices, a political town hall and ballot forum, Saturday, October 3rd, 2026. Meet candidates running for governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, and other major statewide and local offices, including mayor of Los Angeles, city attorney, and LA County sheriff. Get clear, nonpartisan breakdowns of the propositions on your November ballot, both sides, no spin. And ask your questions directly, in real conversation, face to face. California Voices is brought to you by KBLA Talk 1580 and the Empowerment Congress, giving you the information you need before you vote. Mark your calendar, Saturday, October 3rd, 2026, California Voices. Follow KBLA 1580 for details and download the KBLA 1580 app. Your vote, your voice. Be there.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, The Faith Not to Fall, with Reverend Teresa Terry Hord Owens, General Minister and President of the Christian Church, the Disciples of Christ in the United States and Canada, an author and advocate for the church living out its calling. Since her election in 2017, Reverend Hord Owens' ministry actively reflects the disciples' priority of being an anti-racist church, being a movement of wholeness, welcoming all to the Lord's table as God has welcomed us. She earned a Master's of Divinity degree at the University of Chicago Divinity School, where she was a Disciple House Scholar, recipient of the John Gray Rind Award, given to the top MDiv graduates at the Divinity School. Reverend Owens, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Good to be with you today.
Reverend, I had an amazing conversation with Dr. Terrence Lester, who is still with us for just a few moments, who has worked very closely with Reverend Barber and Reverend Theodis at the Repairs of the Breach. And I know that you continue to work with Dr. Barber, and I just wanted him to stop by for a moment because his first hour, we talked about the housing priority and the work that he did to really, I don't want to say transform his ministry, but in this last hour, he certainly transformed my understanding of the housing and the homeless problem as being more than just a policy-driven issue. He dived right in. He experienced it. He lived it. He made a judgment that he was going to form an organization called Love Beyond the Walls. Mm-hmm. Once again, Terrence, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Grateful to be back with you, Jesse.
Brother, I am so glad that you are here. Terry, I know you heard most of the conversation. Before we let Brother Lester go, did you have a couple of questions of Brother Lester?
No, I would. First of all, it's just great to meet you, Dr. Lester, and I will be sure to let Dr. Barber know that you and I have met. Perhaps we've been in the same room and just didn't know it, or on the same space. And also, I was just with Liz Theo Harris last week in DC. Awesome. At another event. So these are people who are near and dear to me. But what would you say to people in faith communities? You mentioned Mr. Easton, I believe his name, was a deacon at a local church. Are there ways that just everyday folks sitting in the pews can get involved not only in your work, or ways that we should be encouraging congregations to be addressing these issues, both of housing and certainly of education?
Yeah, Reverend Owens, grateful to be here with you as well. I think one of the things that I'm always kind of encouraging churches and faith leaders to do is to be socially aware, right? Don't check your intellect out at a door. Know what is going on around you. Know what policies are actually harming those who are, in your backyard, in your next door neighbor, even yourself, right? I think sometimes the social lack of awareness kind of places us in a very vulnerable position where we don't even know what's happening around us, what's going on, how can we get involved. The other thing I would say is that you need to know what your elected officials are talking about. And I know that's a sensitive subject because people don't like to mix faith and politics, but I'll say everything is political, right? Every single thing, every aspect of your life in some shape, form, or fashion is being affected by public policy. And so know what your local officials are talking about. Understand what organizations are doing what. Understand where you can actually be used right around you. And for many other churches, I would even say, take an assessment of your congregation. Sometimes you have untapped potential right in your congregation. I've worked with churches who had many carpenters in there, and we built things for the unhoused community. I've worked with churches who had teachers and educators, and we built after-school programs that can mentor and tutor unhoused youth, right? And so always be aware of what's in front of you and what's going on around you. And I would just start there.
I've got a question I'd like to ask maybe both of you, since we have just a few more minutes left in this segment. I like to ask the larger questions about where we're going. And I'm wondering, based upon what I just heard Dr. Lester say, Terry, I'm thinking that the founding fathers, in addition to these rights, in addition to the expressions we've heard about what the country is and isn't on July 4th, and what we'll be talking about over the course of the next year, celebrating the 250th anniversary, it seems to me that we are towards not just a more perfect union, but we're towards some kind of civil religion, some kind of care and concern for the ill-housed, the ill-fed, the ill-healthed, if you will, or those without health care, those without education, that somehow the system itself was designed as a form of civil concern, some kind of system designed for neighbor, even if the struggle for inclusion and participation in it has been one of its great tragedies and burdens and barriers since the inception of the nations. Am I right or wrong about that?
I have no doubt, and you've written about this, the idea that part of this vision was that this executive leader, that the whole system would fall apart if it were not entrusted to men of deep moral character and vision. And I think that's a large part of what we continue. That's been sort of a strength that could lead us to a certain kind of civil religion. But I think what's happened is that we've conflated political agenda and a particular interpretation of Christianity alone and Christianity vis-a-vis other religions, and tried to say, and that's really what white nationalism is, and white Christian nationalism. You can only be a good patriot if you're this kind of Christian, and you can only be a good kind of Christian if you agree with me on these policies. And I think that the vision is still there to be more perfect, and the freedom to worship. I say all the time, I'm not interested in common belief, but I do want common commitments and common action. Every single religious tradition, every community, people have come here for this freedom of opportunity and freedom of worship. We've made great strides so that the three of us are now sitting in places where our ancestors could never have dreamed of sitting. But we have to continue to ensure that the toxicity and the contamination of both religion and our civil understanding doesn't continue to be poisoned. It's civil religion right now is not a good thing, because it's a conflation of something that's been misinterpreted by those who seek to maintain power and keep others from getting it.
Dr. Lester?
Yeah, Reverend Owens, my colleague and close friend, Dr. Jamar Tisby, defines white Christian nationalism as an ethno-cultural ideology that uses Christian symbolism to create a permission structure for the acquisition of political power and social control. When you hear that at this present moment, what are we seeing in relationship to this particular defining of white Christian nationalism?
Well, in this moment, I lead a denomination, Christian Church Disciples of Christ, of which Dr. Barber is an ordained minister. 80% of our church is white, 10% Black, 6 to 7% Hispanic, 2 to 3% Asian Pacific Islander. And we're densest in those states that we would call right in the heart of the country, in the red states. And so I see it all across our 3,000 plus congregations, and we're constantly fighting against it. We just had a large gathering online Friday and Saturday of more than 2,400 people. And we introduced a new concept that we're calling a TED-P Talks, Topics for Education, Discussion, and Prayer. Brought on somebody to give the history of the justice work that our church has done on issues of economic justice, housing, and healthcare. And then we brought in a friend of mine from DC to present some data and some facts, and then invited people to break up and have small discussions. We don't spend enough time educating people in church about these issues because they think we're being political and nobody wants you to preach about it. No, it's not partisan to speak truth and give data. And that's one thing that at least we're trying to do within the disciples, is to, on a regular basis, provide this kind of education and discussion and get people to talk about, what do you think the church is really doing? And amazingly, I didn't get the normal kind of pushback online that I often get. People are like, oh, spend more time on evangelism. This to me is evangelism.
Yes.
And
it's a public theology. It's a public theology. What is God saying about the present moment, the social ills that are causing people to be harmed, right? Because if God cares, right, he cares about the whole well-being of people. And I think we only want to one of my favorite passages that says, love God with everything and your neighbor as yourself. But if you love your neighbor, it's talking about your neighbor, first of all, that's not like you. But if you love your neighbor, you also have to be concerned about the issues that neighborhood faces, that the neighbor lives in, and also be concerned about how you can actually stand in solidarity with that neighbor if you want the true access to shalom and peace that we all want for ourselves.
I was at a funeral recently, and I'm going to get myself in trouble right here. A particular friend of mine on the program was scheduled to read the New or the Old Testament, and this particular minister decided to read it off of their iPad, and the iPad died, and so they couldn't get the scripture right. So they made up the scripture, and of course it became the butt of a number of jokes at the funeral, but it was a very light, very healthy moment, but it was a funny moment. And I know I'm going to slaughter this scripture, but somewhere in the Bible, it says something to the effect that where our treasury is, our heart shall be.
That's right.
Without slaughtering it. I'm wondering, when you look at the president's budget, and I'm not asking anyone on this interview for specifics, the amount of money that's being spent on the military and the money that's going to these tax breaks for people who don't need them, this cannot, by definition, Dr. Lester, be considered a moral document.
I think what you are communicating, framing up where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. The question that comes to mind is, do we care about the most vulnerable of our times? Do we care about the person who is working a job that doesn't make a living wage? Do we care about the unhoused person who is getting jail time versus a shelter bed or access to wraparound services? Do we care that there is a growing mental health challenge in our country with inaccessibility to some of those services, right? Teresa Gowan, in her book, Hobos, Hustlers, and Black Backsliders, argues that there are three moral constructions narratives as it relates to poverty: sin talk, six talk, and system talk, right? And so are we actually really thinking about the inherent worth and value of people who are vulnerable, or are we passing them off because we are only concerned with the few and the powerful? And my answer to that question is no. When I hear it, because if not, we wouldn't have people right now hanging in the balance, wondering if they'll have access to affordable housing. We wouldn't have all of these laws popping up all around the country that criminalize and demonize those who are unhoused. We wouldn't have people who are impoverished suffering at the rates that we're seeing them. And so the answer is no. We haven't been placing that treasure in the right places, right? We can't be elevating war while also demonizing the most vulnerable of our society.
Dr. Lester, thank you very much for joining Teresa and I on The Faith Not to Fall. Reverend Terry Hoard Owens, more on KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward. Brother Lester, once again, thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Good to be with
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. A white Texas teenager has been arrested in the drowning death of his black friend Daniel Irving, whose body was found in Lake Ray Hubbard.
Tampering with the evidence charge is an outright disrespect to this family.
Irving's family is demanding murder charges, arguing the suspect tried to cover up the crime by deleting text messages from Irving's phone. Black Baltimore Mayor Brandon Scott is urging community groups to register their National Night Out events. The annual event, held the first Tuesday in August, is designed to strengthen relationships between police and the communities they serve. Registration is available through the city's website. And Sussex County in Delaware is unveiling a new historical marker honoring Greenwood School 222C in Greenwood, which educated Black elementary students for decades. The public is invited to attend the free ceremony Friday afternoon. Additional information is available on the state's website. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Cleaning starts with one small task, and suddenly it's the whole house. Luckily, there's AirTasker. Post your task, set your budget, and choose a tasker to help. From carpet cleaning to finally tackling the junk drawer. Go to airtasker.com or download the app.
AirTasker. Get anything done?
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Number 14. That's where Talkers Magazine ranked Tavis Smiley on their heavy 100 list of the 100 most important talk radio hosts in America. Join Tavis weekdays, 9 a.m. to noon or 9 p.m. to midnight. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Please be advised. You may want to stop eating the following foods immediately: broccoli, kale, bean sprouts, blueberries, quinoa, spinach.
Wait, what? I thought those were good for me.
Turns out not for everyone, because what's healthy for one person can cause inflammation for another. And the only way to really know what your body needs is to listen to it.
Listen how?
That's where Viome comes in. Viome is a simple at-home gut health test that looks at your body's real-time biology using RNA to understand what's happening inside you right now. When your results come in, you'll learn exactly which foods to eat, which to avoid, and which supplements are right for you, all based on the world's largest RNA-based human biology database and thousands of clinical research studies. And many people who use Viome report more energy, better digestion, and a better mood within months. So stop guessing. Start knowing. Learn more at Viome.com/gut. V as in Victor, IOME.com/GUT. And use coupon code GUTHEALTH50 to save $50 off your purchase. Viome.
Are you drowning in IRS tax debt? Angela was. She called Civic Tax Relief and saved over $80,000. Felicia was having health problems, got behind on her taxes, interest and penalties were adding up. She called Civic Tax Relief and saved over $15,000. Civic Tax Relief is a professional tax negotiation firm that can protect you from the IRS. If you're getting collection letters, call Civic Tax Relief for a free consultation. They will go to work helping you discover all the relief programs you may qualify for free. James owed the IRS $37,000. Civic Tax Relief represented him against the IRS, and by the time everything was completed, he did not owe the IRS anything. If you are in trouble with the IRS, call Civic Tax Relief for your free consultation now. 800-200-2257. 800-200-2257. Get a free consultation and real tax relief. Call 800-200-2257. 800-200-2257.
I love a girls' weekend, but my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis can sometimes take me out of the moment. Now I'm all in with clearer skin, thanks to Skyrizi, risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy.
You can usually find me in the kitchen, but my active psoriatic arthritis can limit me at times. Now I'm still in the mix with Skyrizi to treat my joint symptoms.
With Skyrizi, most people with plaque psoriasis saw 90% clearer skin when measured from head to toe at 4 months.
Or if you're an adult with active psoriatic arthritis, Skyrizi helps you move with less joint pain, stiffness, swelling, and fatigue.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines.
There's nothing like clearer skin.
There's nothing like better movement, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi. Visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
Follow the leader.
KBLA Talk 1580.
Follow the leader.
If you're not following KBLA Talk 1580 on all of our socials, then you're missing out. Download our app and find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and on the web at KBLA 1580.
That's right.
Again, you can find all of our socials at KBLA 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
By the way, if you miss any of our weekday shows in real time, you can always catch up by checking out the podcast of your favorite shows at your leisure. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Got your black.
Follow the leader.
Oh my God. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader.
Unapologetically progressive.
You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580. We don't tell you what to think, just what to think about.
Don't be anxious or confused about AI. Take control of your career when you get the skills to tackle real business problems and design specialized solutions. HR Dive reported that entry-level talent with applied AI credentials can receive up to a 25% salary boost. But where do you find training that you can trust? Future-proof your career and deliver more value with Humans Lead the Way AI. Their hybrid learning courses use practical definitions, real-world examples, and strategic insights to help you and your team understand AI with confidence. No magic, no hacks, no shortcuts. Just practical knowledge that helps you use AI more successfully. Don't wait. AI can never replace people who know how to use it well. Register for courses today at humansleadtheway.com. That's humansleadtheway.com.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Quality drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, The Faith Not to Fall, with Reverend Terry Hord Owens, the General Minister and President of the Christian Church, the Disciples of Christ in the United States and Canada. Terry, welcome forward to the show.
Thank you so much. Good to be here.
Terry, the internet is on fire about the death of Lindsey Graham.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd like to ask you a question that only the profoundest of thinkers can reflect upon, and therefore I trust you, and I trust you with the answer. It is reported that Abraham Lincoln reached out after the Civil War to men who were hell-bent not only on the destruction of the Union, but literally the killing of Abraham Lincoln himself, but more determined than ever, saving the Union without having half of the country feeling one type of way or the other about why they were fighting was important to the character of Abraham Lincoln. You think about the philosophy of Mohandas K. Gandhi and how he reached out in a colonial mindset, encouraging on the one hand that not only must we resist colonialism, but we must resist within ourselves having the spiritual discipline to not become that which we are fighting against. And that's really, really hard work, because it's easy to be tit for tat and to become exactly what you're fighting against. When I think about Jesse Jackson reaching out in his latter years at George Wallace's request, and the NAACP and others that George Wallace reached out to say, hey, I am sorry. I look back on history and I don't want to be remembered for this. The question I have for you is about our political enemies and how we should receive them, either in life or in death. Do we continue the battle even beyond the person's ability to fight for themselves or to speak for themselves? Do relationships matter? What are the factors in this question of loving your enemies? And is there a limit to it because we don't like what we've heard from our enemy?
Right.
That is really a challenge to our faith.
Yeah.
Reverend Terry Owens.
Oh, this is probably one of the toughest things that human beings who profess any kind of faith, have to struggle with. I have seen on the internet, all the different podcasts I follow. I woke up yesterday to go to church and my phone was just going off, and I was almost late to church trying to see what people were saying out there. But such vitriol aimed at him, such, in many cases, almost glee over his passing. I saw several quotes on comments on one podcast that said, these things happen in threes. They were basically saying McConnell, Graham, and implying, really, I think that they hope that perhaps the next person to be affected would be Trump. And as much as we disagree with people's positions, the Christian tradition would remind us, and Scripture says to love your enemies, bless those who persecute you. And that's it's in Jesus' Sermon on the Mount. It's really, really hard work to do. And that's why it's so important, I think, for us in the work that we do socially, in terms of justice, even in our human relationships, in our professional relationships. We have to be sure that we're seeking common commitments, not necessarily common beliefs. But as you said earlier, decency has to be at the heart of that. That said, I am never released from the obligation to express and show decency, respect to people, no matter how much I disagree with them, no matter how much they may have vilified or destroyed me. If I preach the limitless love of God, and I'm always saying, we don't get to decide who God's love includes and who it doesn't include. I don't get to say to you, you're not worthy of the love of God, because I don't get to measure the worth of your own life and the worth of your humanity on whether or not you agree with me. Now, what I can say is that I cannot abide or agree with the actions or commitments that you make and its impact on other people. And you and I can disagree, but I do think we lose some moral high ground when we start to be vicious and disrespectful. There are ways to win the battle other than making it a personal fight. I was really moved by your comments earlier about the ways in which Lindsey Graham lobbied to try and have your dad allowed to lie in state in the U.S. Capitol. I think there are always rhythms of humanity that we can connect on, and ways to be human with one another But even when people are, President Trump, there's so many people I disagree viscerally with. But I have to be mindful that part of my own witness is the way I treat other people. And we simply cannot allow the vitriol that's out there to move us off our square, as they say, because all it does is damage the effectiveness, really, of the work that we're doing. Because the right that we're working for society, if we lose our moral high ground, then we become no better than that which we fight against. So
I don't believe Abraham Lincoln deserved to be shot.
No,
I don't believe that Garfield deserved to be shot.
Right.
I don't believe that Gandhi deserved to be shot. I don't believe Dr. King deserved to be shot, or JFK, or Robert F. Kennedy,
right,
or Patrice Lumumba, or I don't believe President Donald Trump deserved to be shot. There is a way to defeat him. It's at the polling place. There is a way to end tyranny in this country by voting, by organizing, by putting our blood, sweat, and tears in making a difference, in preaching a different sermon, and preaching a different message. I do not wish death upon anybody, period. And I am not going to sacrifice my humanity, who I am, over a political fight.
That's right.
I can imagine how I might feel if someone is out to take the life of my children or my loved ones, and I might be in a defensive posture that puts me in a moral dilemma where I have to deal with it on the terms that they want to deal with it. But short of that, a political fight, I'm going to say something nasty about someone because we had a political disagreement. It ain't happening. I mean, it ain't happening. That's like the lowest thing on the totem pole for going off on. And most people on social media, if you think about it, are talking about someone that they don't even know.
Right.
They're reacting to newspaper articles. They're reacting to his relationship with Trump. We all react. Do you know what they were saying on the other side about my dad when he died?
Oh
my God. It was awful. And all I'm saying on both sides is stop that. Stop it.
Amen. Amen.
Your mama taught you better. I'm
That's
Jesse
right.
Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. More with Reverend Terry Hord Owens, the faith not the fall, when we come forward right here on KBLA Talk 1580.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Listen up, KBLA delegation. We have something you need to hear. Right now, you may qualify for low-cost home internet. And we're not talking about a catch. This is real. Many internet service providers offer low-cost internet plans if anyone in your household is enrolled in CalFresh, Medi-Cal, SSI, or is income eligible. There are a lot of families in our community who deserve to be connected. Here's all you do. Call 844-461-7893. That's the Get Connected call center. Real people ready to help you enroll today. Or go online to internetforallnow.org to find a provider near you. You may also qualify for a low-cost computer through Human IT. Connectivity is not a luxury. In 2026, it's a necessity. And you deserve access just like everybody else. Call 844-461-7893. That's 844-461-7893. KBLA's got you. If you missed any of this, you can always go to our website at KBLA1580.com. Brought to you by KBLA Talk 1580 in partnership with the California Emerging Technology Fund, CETF.
Back to school starts now. Get long-lasting battery life on the Dell XPS laptop powered by Series 3 Intel Core so you can work from anywhere. Now starting at $699 with exclusive student pricing starting at $599. Complete your setup with savings on select monitors and must-have electronics and accessories. Limited time deals and free shipping on PCs and more await you at Dell.com/deals. That's Dell.com/deals.
Indeed presents hires you can't afford to get wrong, like a social media manager.
Did you just post our Q4 earnings to your personal social media?
Oh yeah, used a trending audio and everything.
That's confidential financial data.
Relax. It only went a little viral.
The SEC just commented with the eyeball watching emoji.
This is a job for sponsored jobs. This is what happens when you don't sponsor your job on Indeed. Next time, get matched with quality candidates with Indeed sponsored jobs. Visit Indeed.com/hire now and sponsor your job today.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Tired of being locked out of job opportunities and shut down by systemic racism? KBLA Talk 1580 stands with you in fighting for the rights of black workers, and we don't black down. The Los Angeles Black Workers Center is a dynamic alliance of workers, organized labor, community-based organizations, clergy, students, and scholars working collectively to improve the position of the black working class. The LA Black Workers Center takes a comprehensive approach to addressing the black jobs crisis. Their programs promote access to quality jobs, racial equity in hiring and retention, discrimination-free job sites, and they prepare black workers for employment in high-wage career track jobs. The LA Black Workers Center supports workers who need help protecting their rights on the job. They give workers access to quality jobs and remove systemic barriers to employment. And they are advocating for a fair deal for black workers in the new Los Angeles City Charter. To sign up for free career readiness training, get involved in organizing, or learn about union apprenticeship programs and trade registries, please visit lablackworkercenter.org. That's lablackworkercenter.org. Together, we can beat the black jobs crisis and build a more equitable Los Angeles. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Getting around LA doesn't have to cost a lot. Metro has fares that fit every budget. 20 free rides for qualified riders through the Life Fare program. Free passes for students with GoPass and affordable options for everyone in between. Wherever you're going, Metro's got you covered. Visit metro.net/fare programs.
KBLA Talk 1580. Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download that.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. We're in the Faith Not the Fall with Reverend Teresa Terry Horde Owens. Reverend Owens is a native of Terre Haute, Indiana, a descendant of one of Indiana's oldest African-American free settlements. She earned her bachelor's degree in government with a minor in African-American studies from Harvard University. Reverend Owens, welcome forward to the show.
Thank you. So good to be here.
Reverend, I'm thinking in this moment about Dr. King's admonition that the world will change because of a small group of creative nonconformists. That is, that small group of people who are not on the fringes of both sides of any argument, political debates or disagreements, but the group that's willing to reach out across the tracks, to reach out across the lines and establish some sense of brotherhood, some sense of common unity, community, common unity. Mm-hmm. And when I was in Congress, there was a lot of that. I mean, I didn't get along with Henry Hyde over nothing. He had a Hyde Amendment, which was against Roe v. Wade and federal funding for abortions. And I didn't agree with Henry Hyde over nothing, but he was on the north side of Chicago. I was on the south side of Chicago. He had 3 jobs for every one person. And there are a lot of problems that come with that in terms of traffic. I had 3 people for every one job, and I'm fighting for growth and development on my side of town. He said, take some of my traffic. And I said, I'd love to have all of your traffic. Mm-hmm. And we became friends in a context that made sense to us. This is an 80-year-old guy. I'm a 35-year-old guy. He's a senior legislator. I'm just a freshman in Congress. And we established the Jackson-Hyde partnership. Those days apparently are long gone in the Congress of the United States. But it was the foundation for us to be able to reach out across the aisle. Not because we were born into the same space, not because we didn't have different ideologies or perspectives, but because to get something done, we had to come together, our circumstances and the contexts of our lives notwithstanding. We just had to do it. So I'm thinking in this moment, just as I shared with at my father's funeral, that these are moments where we talk about, first of all, we show good manners. we talk about what it means to go forward and not just look backwards, but to find any of the good that can be salvageable. I'll close on this. I didn't have a problem at all with Lindsey Graham when I named Emancipation Hall the largest room in the capital of the United States, Emancipation Hall. They wanted to name it Liberty Hall, but that means so many different things to so many people. We needed to honor the event of emancipation. Lindsey did not have a problem with me putting Rosa Parks' statue in Statuary Hall. She was the first African-American before they put Mary McLeod Bethune and other African-American women in the Capitol. Lindsey did not have a problem with that. He supported that. I'm good with that. Did I agree with his balancing the budget initiative? No, because we deserve our fair share. Did I agree with the Tea Party and their reaction to Barack Obama? No, I knew that was racist. Did I agree with where the MAGA coalition is going? Absolutely not. But just less than 90 days ago, less than 120 days ago, he called the governor of South Carolina and said, Reverend Jesse Jackson belongs here as a favorite son of this state to be in Capitol, one of 12 people to ever be laid in state in the capital of South Carolina. Just 120 days ago. He didn't have to do that. And that's after Mike Johnson told him, no, we will not let him be in the U.S. Capitol. My point is, and there are many other instances just like that, where relationships are built off of the small things, not social media, not the talking, not the animus. Reverend Owens, I think that we are under an obligation in our lives to bring the small things forward. Often we think about the things, but the small things.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. And I think, in so many situations we talk, whether it's church or in community and civic organizations, we talk about the power of relationships in helping us move even from places where we disagree to, if we don't move to consensus, we at least move to respectful cohabitation, right? And when we're not denigrating each other's humanity, we still leave space for that collaboration to happen. Maybe if it's not around one issue, it can happen around another, because at the very least, whether it's Henry Hyde or Lindsey Graham, they saw that you were willing to engage them respectfully and with great integrity on whatever the topic was. If we're constantly beating each other down, I have no incentive to listen to you or to pay attention to you. If you're dismissing my concerns, if you're attacking me personally or politically, but when we keep our engagement at the issue level and not at the human level, then we make space. We always, I think, need to make space where we can return to move forward together. And if we don't do that, we lose great opportunities. All of the people, the whole MAGA coalition, so many data analysts have told us that population didn't feel listened to. They felt dismissed and diminished. And if we don't start listening to people who on the surface disagree with us and want different things from what we want, if we don't learn to build an understanding of what our common commitments are, we're not going to be able to build this society really that we all want. And we're not going to be able to stay in a place where at the very least, you can listen to me and I can listen to you, even when we disagree on certain situations, because that's part of what real consensus is about. It's about, I can live with that. I wouldn't have advocated it myself, but I can live with that. And I'm not going to fight that particular progress, because it's not an issue on which we need to stymie all of our progress moving forward together. And this is why people need spiritual depth. I don't care what your tradition is, what your practice is. If you don't have any kind of spiritual depth or moral inner life, these things are harder to do. They're hard anyway. But apart from any kind of moral or spiritual understanding, it's impossible to live life like that.
Madam President, we have about 1 minute and 30 seconds before we come forward. I can't think of a better expert and a better way to end on a word of hope with a very specific word of hope. Madam President, you're the author of Staying at the Table. Why should we stay at the table in spite of all that's going on?
Staying at the table is really about what I just said, understanding that the relationships that we build are necessary for all of us to move forward. My second grade teacher, I had a fight with one of my best friends in class, and she took us to the hall and said, you know, you don't have to be buddy. You don't have to eat lunch together or play recess together, invite each other to each other's home, but you are both accountable for building a culture of respect in this classroom. And I think we're all accountable for building a culture of respect, a culture of love. And if we can remind each other that whether I like you or not, you have every right as someone who's been created to be here as part of God's creation. I have an obligation to respect your seat, and you must respect mine. And only then will we be able to look at each other, move past differences, and figure out what we can live with and work together to move the whole of society forward.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You've been listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. We've been in the show, The Faith Not the Fall, with Reverend Terry Howard Owens. More on KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward. Terry, thank you so much for being with us.
Oh, good to be here. See you next
Looking
week.
forward to seeing you next Monday. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. More on KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward.